Oh, what a night last night. Edmonton wins it in overtime. Against the Florida Panthers and take a 1-0 series lead. The Mudhens on the road in Columbus playing the Clippers. The Tigers this afternoon fall to the Chicago White Sox and split the series with the Southsiders before coming back to Comerica this weekend to play the Northsiders. The Guardians are in New York to battle the Yankees, third game of the series, while the Reds can't find a way to beat the Brewers. Scheffler finds a way to shake Jack's hand, and now the RBC Canadian Open happens. Last week was the U.S. Women's Open. In 2 years, in 2027, it comes to Inverness. We're getting closer and closer to head the Midland for the Dow Championship. But the fish, the walleye, fall in Three Rivers and are down 2-1 in the series to the Lions of Tres Rivieras. We haven't done a regular full show for you in a long time. Tonight we're going to, because it's time for All Andy Alfred, right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network and on YouTube. And I love you guys, and welcome in to another edition of All Andy Alfred right here on your exclusive home for me, and that is with the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network. Whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you listen to us, wherever and whenever you listen to us, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for tuning into the show tonight to hear what's happening in the sports world, as well as what's happening in my everyday life. You can always be a part of our podcast by following us on Twitter. It is at All Andy Alfred. It is at All Andy Alfred, as well as Facebook.com/All Andy Alfred. And welcome to the show tonight on the 5th day of June, 2025. Lots to get into tonight, of course. We'll hit the back pages, of course. A big show happening down at the Toledo Rep this weekend as Memphis comes to town. Don Glover's Memphis. Highly recommend go seeing the show. A lot of good positive vibes out of that. So there's a good plug right there. Also, Octa is happening as well at Maumee Indoor. A lot of great productions. I know 3V's doing great productions. I know Village Players is playing in it, and a few other companies. Definitely worth going to see these great theater companies performing to get to states. So highly recommended for that. Also, we've got a watch party happening at Fifth Third Field Friday and Saturday for our fish, and we'll get into the walleyes woes from last night, and you'll hear my take on the fish here in just a few minutes. Also, we'll dive into the big announcement, of course. Jacket gets the Masterson Award. We'll talk about that. Also, we'll dive into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Tigers were in action this afternoon against the White Sox. We'll dive into that series as well as take a look around the major leagues. Also, golf happening, sponsored by our good friends at Scramble Stick. It is the Memorial that happened last weekend. We'll recap that and the Women's U.S. Open, as well as the men now head to Canada for the RBC Championship. I don't know offhand where the women are going to, but there's that. Also, the final race of the Triple Crown happening this weekend, as it is the Belmont Stakes taking place. We'll preview the Belmont, as it's going to be kind of a match race, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But like I said, you can always be a part of our show by following us on Twitter. It is at All Andy Alfred. It is at All Andy Alfred, as well as Facebook.com/All Andy Alfred, as well as on our YouTube channel, which is the All Andy Alfred YouTube channel. So welcome into the show tonight. Let's get right into it, of course. Where do we begin? Let's talk about the fish. As it is, the Kelly Cup finals are taking place as we speak, and the Toledo Walleye are now on the road into Canada, into Quebec, as they play in Trios Rivières, Quebec, as they are playing the Three Rivers. That's what they're called, the Three Rivers Lions. And last night, the fish fell short in their game last night by the score of 2-1. If you haven't watched the postgame show, go ahead and watch that postgame show. It's a great show last night. And I got to give also credit to our friends over at the Riverside Podcast Network for turning me into an animated character. I like that. Find that. Look at that clip. That's pretty cool. But let's get into it. Of course, you take what Saturday was. Saturday had all the momentum. You felt like this team was going to do well. They fall behind early in the game yet again, and they rally back because of their power play. The power play helped them out Saturday night, and they capitalized on it with Bliss and company on Saturday. And you figured that they would take that momentum from Saturday and that great crowd that was on hand on Saturday. Again, another great crowd Monday night. You figured that they would possibly continue that momentum, but they did not play walleye hockey. They did not. And it was absolutely sad to see. It was kind of heartbreaking and a kind of a gut punch, especially within the third period when they scored on that breakaway goal. You saw half the building just pick up and leave. And I can understand that. And people were, complaining on some of the social media boards as well as some of the Facebook groups saying that, your guys aren't real fans and blah, blah, blah. But let me just tell you this. To those fans that say that, do you work a 9 to 5? Or do you work a 6 to 4? And then you turn around and you go to the walleye game that night? A lot of people have jobs. A lot of people work for a living. They work hard. They don't stand in line for bobbleheads all day. They don't stand in line for beach towels. They don't stand in line for these free giveaways. They don't. People have a 9 to 5 job that they actually work, and they work hard. And if they see a product that they don't like, and they know that this game is going to be pretty much put out of reach when they're down 4-1 with 5 minutes to go in the game, and you know that they can't probably score 4 goals to win the game, why not pick up and leave? Why not? If you know that your team is, and they lost 5-1 on Monday night, you knew you were going to lose. Why do you want to stay and watch the product? Why would you want to stay and watch the product? And it was costly on two forwards. One, they were not playing walleye hockey. Cheeky penalties cost them a lot. And again, I will say it again, the veterans have not stepped up to the plate in this series or the last 2 series against Kansas City and as well as in the Fort Wayne series. They haven't done any of the veterans haven't come up. We haven't seen Cruz step up to the plate. We haven't seen Hawkins, which I want to put his face on a milk box, because have you seen Brandon Hawkins? He was lighting up the regular season, has been ice cold during the playoffs. He hasn't done much since the Indy series. He's been sitting in the weeds. He's been spinning his tires. And for me, he needs to step up. Keenan needs to step up. Bliss has been hit and miss. But again, I will say it. The Fish need to, step up to the plate. The veterans have to step up to the plate. And last night, you figured that they would step up to the plate. You're going on the road in a hostile environment into another country in a building that you have never played in before. And you would take that veteran leadership and you would help these young kids out, like the Andrews and the Hillmans. And by the way, I didn't understand the whole Kobe Ambrosio being scratched and putting Hillman in the game. Ambrosio's been doing very, very good all playoff series long. So why pull him out and put Hillman in? It didn't make much sense. It didn't make much sense at all. But I will say this. Last night, it was a 2-full game. Toledo looked absolutely terrible in the first 20 minutes. Letting getting the first shot on net. And Jan Bednar has been so great this playoffs. Has been fantastic this whole entire playoff run. And he just gave up this one on a bad redirect. And the Fish fall 1-0. Chris Janik gets his 3rd of the campaign from Xavier Cormier and Alex Bugard. It's 1-0. Not even a minute into the game. And then at the 12:20 mark of the period, Xavier Comier again for the second from Brugard and McLeod. It's 2-0 after 20 minutes. And Toledo was out shooting Three Rivers in the first period, 12-5. Toledo didn't even get a penalty in the game until we get into the second period. Now, they did get called for a 5-minute boarding call. McCallion got called 5 minutes for a board. You figure that, maybe, I think the league's going to have to look into this hit. Sorry to say that. I think they're going to look into that hit, make sure if it's not malicious. But, some people thought it was clean. Some people thought it was dirty. The league's going to look into it. I know they will. But then you have Cruz gets called for a slash. It's 5-on-3. And then Toledo comes out of the woodwork. They come alive. Before those penalties happen, Banto gets his 5th of the campaign from Craigs and Smerrick. And Craigs and Smerrick have helped out. But I will say this about Jalen Smerrick. He needs to keep the stick on the ice, and he needs to shoot the puck more. He needs to play defense and shoot the puck more. Plain and simple. If he could do those two things, he's going to be very, very good for this team in this playoff run. Because what he did on Monday night was just, I was just shocked. Fanned on a puck, gives it away, turns into a breakout, and Three Rivers capitalized and scored. But Banto from Craigs and Smerrick, it's 2-1. They cut the deficit down. Again, Toledo out shooting Three Rivers in the second period again. 12-9. They were out shooting them 24-14 after 40 minutes. But the dagger came in with Beauregard at the 15-11 mark of the third period. His 9th of the campaign from Nicholas Gay and Kyle Havila. It's 3-1. The writing was on the wall a little bit there. And it was a even strength goal. And then you see this team. And they had a better, in my opinion, they had a better second period and a better third period. They were actually Toledo Walleye in the second and third period of this game. And they didn't go down without a fight. Sawyer on the power play. After Novak after Dumare gets called with the interference call, Sawyer capitalizes his 6th of the campaign from Gallant and Cruz. And it's 3-2. Toledo pulls the goalie. They do not allow them to get into the empty net, but the damage was done. The game was done. And Toledo falls in Game 3 of the Kelly Cup final by a score of 3-2. Toledo outshot Toros Rivieras, the Three Rivers Lions, 33-20 in the game. Toledo 1 for 3 on the power play. Three Rivers 0 for 3 on the power play. Luke Cavan, the number 3 star, the goaltender, stopping 31 of 33, save percentage of a .950. Anthony Beauregard, the number 2 star, with 1 goal and no assists. And Xavier Cormier, the number 1 star, 1 goal and 1 assist in the game. It was Bednar stopping 17 of 20, save percentage of a .925 the game. And like I said before, it was Luke Cavian stopping 31 of 33, save percentage of a .950. So the Fish fall in Game 3 of the Kelly Cup final by the score of 3-2. Again, the veterans are not contributing in this game. Hawkins -2, Spezia -2, Lewandowski -1, and he just is coming back from being out in the series against Kansas City. I'm not going to give him that. Cruz a 0, Colin Keenan 0. Even with Banto scoring, he was a +1. Hillman -1, Smerrick -1, Nick Andrews -1, Billy Mosco -2. Can't have it happen. You just can't have it happen. With Gay and Ricard at a +3 for the night, but 3,497 in attendance at Coliseum Veratron. 2 hours and 30 minutes took to play the game. Will Kelly and Tyler Haskell were the referees in the game. So the Fish fall in Game 3 of the Kelly Cup Final by the score of 3-2. And I will go back to what I said last night in the postgame show. The first period was absolutely trash. We played Toledo walleye hockey in the second and third period. We need to take that momentum from the second and third period and turn that into what happens Friday night. Because if you look at what this series is now, okay, Toledo, tomorrow's game, Friday night's game, is a must-win for Toledo. It is a must-win. They must win this game on Friday. If they don't, this series is going to probably be over on Saturday afternoon. By dinner time on Saturday afternoon, if Toledo loses tomorrow, the season's done. Because you give the Lions the opportunity to finish it at home. You just can't have it happen. And I'll put it this again. Do you want to see Three Rivers win the Cup in the Huntington Center? Do you, as a Walleye fan? Because if they win tomorrow and then they fall on Saturday afternoon, let's say they fall on Saturday afternoon, they're up 3-2. Do you want to see Three Rivers win the Cup on when they come back to Toledo? Do you want to sit through Game 7 of a Kelly Cup final in Toledo? Because I would want to. I would want to. But the question I have is this: will you sit there and watch if Toledo looks terrible after Saturday's game and they're up down 3-2 in the series? Will you sit there for Game 6 and possibly sit there and watch Three Rivers win the Cup in the Huntington Center? Now, if Toledo can somehow, some way win this game Friday and win Saturday, they take a 3-2 lead back to the Huntington Center, and they've got an opportunity to close the door. But it all starts with the game tomorrow, 7:15 puck drop in Colisée Verrières in Three Rivers, Quebec. And the three keys to tomorrow's game. The veterans have to step up. I'm sorry, but they have to. If they don't step up to the plate, this series is probably done. Number 2, Gylander has to be a lot better. After the performance he had on Monday evening, he's got to be a lot better. If he doesn't perform a lot better, then we're in trouble. We're absolutely in trouble. That's number 2. And number 3, key penalties. Do not cause key penalties at key times of this game. Because if you do that, if you do cause penalties in this game and give them the opportunity to score on those power play opportunities, they're going to capitalize. And that's what they did on Monday against Gylander. So we'll see what happens. 7:15 puck drop. 7:15 puck drop. We'll see. We'll absolutely see. Of course, some of the big announcement, of course, today. Kansas City's coach has announced he is leaving. Let's see here. Some of the ACHL news and notes around the league right now. Of course, Cincinnati has added their new coach. They announced that Riley Wiskowski has been named the 7th coach in franchise history. He was coaching the Kansas City Mavericks. He was 103 wins with 217 points. Kansas City's now without a coach. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, the new coach for the new team out of Greensboro has been announced too. Scott Burt has been named a coach. He used to play with the Toledo Storm back in the day. He was also an assistant coach for the Idaho Steelheads and the Alaska Aces. But he was recently been with the coaching staff in the Western Hockey with the Spokane Chiefs from 2013 to 2016. And he was like Idaho from 2019 to 2020. Bert also played 13 seasons. He had 356 points with 149 goals, 207 assists, with 1,067 penalty minutes in 568 ECHL games with the Toledo Storm, Idaho Steelhead, Utah Grizzlies, and the Alaska Aces. He's also a three-time champion with Idaho, who won a cup in 04 and 07 in Alaska in 2011. So there is that. Some news and notes around the East Coast Hockey League, of course. Let's get into the NHL, of course. Big news of last night, of course, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final between the Edmonton Oilers and the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. And last night's game I thought was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Edmonton played very, very well. Florida jumping out to that early lead, taking a 2-1 lead 20 minutes into the game as Draisaitl opened up the scoring. But then Bennett and then Marchand on the power play makes it 2-1 after 20 minutes. Sam Bennett gets his 12th of the campaign from Schmidt, and Verhage is 3-1. And you figured that they were going to, the Oilers were going to close up the tents. But they kept battling. Arvidsson, even strength, makes it 3-2, and then Matthias Ekholm gets his first of the playoffs from McDavid and Kapanen. It's 3-3 after 60 minutes. We go to overtime, and Leon Draisaitl gets the pass from Connor McDavid and buries it into the back of the net on the power play with less than 40 seconds to go in the game, in the overtime period. And the Edmonton Oilers take Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final last night by the score of 4-3. Edmonton outshot Florida in the game 46-32. Florida led in the faceoff dot 56% to 44%. Edmonton 1 for 4 on the power play. Florida 1 for 2 on the power play. Edmonton and Florida tied with the amount of hits at 51 hits. Edmonton outshot Florida in the first period 14-7, but Florida outshot them in the second 17-8. And then only 2 shots for the Florida Panthers in the third period to Edmonton's 14. So outshooting them 46-32 in the game. It was a sold-out crowd, sold-out Rogers Place. And Game 1 goes to the Edmonton Oilers by the score of 4-3. Game 2 will be Saturday evening. Saturday, is it Saturday or is it Friday? Friday night, 8 o'clock puck drop, TNT, True TV, as well as on Sportsnet for Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final. Also, some news and notes to pass around the NHL for you tonight, and this was the big one for us Blue Jacket fans. Sean Monahan has been announced. He has won the Masterson's Trophy for Perseverance. He was given the trophy to the late Johnny Gaudreau's wife, Meredith Gaudreau, presented Sean Monahan with the Masterson Trophy. He dedicated the trophy to his longtime friend, Johnny Gaudreau. Quote, "This is important to me because Sean is so important to John, and John is so important to Sean," Meredith said. "You don't hear John's name without thinking of Sean, and you don't hear Sean's name without thinking of John. They are the best of friends, and they are brothers. When I asked to be a part of the surprise, I was so honored and so excited. Sean stood by my side for every tribute, every walkout, and I dragged him out there with me to cry on national television so many times. But I'm excited about this one because this is one we can celebrate." So Monahan, 30 years old, signed with the Jackets in 2024 to play with Gaudreau, and then Gaudreau passed away from the car and the biking incident. Monahan served as inspiration for the Blue Jackets, even showing versatility. Quote, "John knows that I didn't like the spotlight or the attention, so I feel he was probably watching down on that moment and having a laugh with me," Monahan says. "Having Meredith come down, having the 3 kids at home to surprise me is something I would be thankful for. Was a lot of emotion right away and very special for her to come to make the effort to come present that to me." Monahan played 54 games this season with the Columbus Blue Jackets, had 57 points, 19 goals, and 38 assists. He deserves this trophy, and this is for John. So I am just very, very happy with that. Also, Boston has got their head coach. Marco Stern was named the new head coach of the Boston Bruins. He was under the regime with the LA Kings. Also, you also had the NHL and the NHLPA are in the process of talking a new collective bargaining agreement. This is a big one for me because we could have another lockout situation. God forbid we have that happening. The NHL, the Players Association had a really good discussion that both sides hope will lead to a new creative bargaining agreement before the expiration date of the current CBA. The current CBA is set to expire September 15th of 2026. So we'll keep tabs with that going forward. Also, in a few weeks, we will be previewing the NHL draft. We'll have all that situation here in a few weeks. But nice class coming out this year. A very, very good class this year. Michael Messina from Saginaw is going to be one of my favorites to watch. Columbus doesn't pick until the 14th pick. Detroit picks 13th. We'll dive into that whole situation when we come upon it. But of course, Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals will be Friday night, 8 o'clock, between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. Edmonton up 1-0 on the Florida Panthers. You are watching and listening to another edition of All Andy Alfred tonight right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you are listening to us, Pocket Cast as well, too, wherever and whenever you're listening to us. Thank you for tuning into the show tonight. You can always be a part of our show by following us on Twitter. It is at All Andy Alfred. It is at All Andy Alfred, as well as Facebook.com/All Andy Alfred, as well as on our YouTube channel, which is the All Andy Alfred page. So, the Tigers. Let's get into the baseball a little bit. Of course, I got my Mud Hen hat on rocking today. The new Mud Hen hat, of course. That's the new logo, which I thought was pretty cool looking. So, couldn't beat the hat. It's $12. Can't beat it, really. Especially how expensive hats are nowadays. My goodness. Anyway, getting into it really quickly. The Tigers. Let's get into it. How about Detroit? How about them Tigers? The Tigers this year, unbelievable. You know, I love every minute of what I'm watching with the Tigers this year. 41-23. 41 wins already for the Tigers. Unbelievable. Leading the division by more than 6 games. And it's all this young talent that we've got. And we shouldn't be surprised of how good this talent is. We saw it last year in the post to get us into the postseason, and we're not. I'm not surprised of how good we're performing this year. This team is for real. Could this team turn into a World Series team? It's a little early to tell right now. But where we're at, like I always say, we take it to Memorial Day. Who's for real? Who's for real, and who's a pretender? The Tigers are for real. My fear is because of how the Tigers have played all season that it could fall in the end. I don't think it's going to. I really don't think so. And how good Detroit is this year? I mean, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. But it did not help that the Tigers had a 4-game series with the White Sox, absolutely destroyed the White Sox in Game 1 of the series 13-1. You get into Tuesday, they lose to the White Sox 8-1. So all that offensive running, they fall apart on Tuesday. Wednesday, they get the win against the White Sox 5-4. And today, they lose to the White Sox in an afternoon affair in extra innings 3-2. So they split the series with the White Sox. Now, the White Sox are the worst team in the American League. You could chalk it up that, that they weren't ready for today. And they played this opponent for 4 days in a row. But you can't lose key division games like this. You just can't. Especially against the White Sox, who are 20-43. Opposite of what the Tigers are, 41-23. Wilson gets the win. He goes to 2-1. Brisky, the loss, he goes to 1-3. Brisky, ERA 4.57. Wilson, 2-1 with a 1.89 ERA. 2 runs on 8 hits, no errors for the Tigers. 3 runs on 11 hits, no errors for the White Sox. The White Sox improved to 20-43 with the win. And Perez, his third of the campaign, home run of the game, had an RBI, and Dylan Dinkler, his 27th RBI of the season in the game. So the Tigers fall to the White Sox 3-2, split the series on the south side. So now we get into the Tigers. Now will go back home to Comerica for a quick 3-game series with the Northsiders of the Chicago Cubs. And this is a big series. It'll start tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on Apple TV. They'll play Saturday afternoon at Comerica, 1:10 first pitch for that one. Sunday, the concluding game of the series is a 1:40 start time for that one. For the pitching matchup for Friday's game for the Tigers, really quickly for you, it'll be Tarek Skubal on the bump, 5-2 with a 2.26 ERA. He'll take on Brown, who's 3-3 with a 5.72 ERA. In that one on Friday. Saturday's pitching matchup for the Tigers at a 1:10 start time. That game, by the way, Saturday's game on MLB Network as well as on FanDuel Sports Network as well as Marquee. Mateo, 2-1 with a 4.02 ERA. He'll take on Talion, who's 5-3 with a 3.76 ERA. And then the concluding game on Sunday for the Tigers, we'll see on the bump, 1:40 start time at Comerica Park. Jack Flaherty, 4-6 with a 3.72 ERA. He'll take on Horton, who's 3-0 with a 3.51 ERA. Now the Tigers play the White Sox, now playing the Cubs. The Guardians are continuing their series. This third game of the series tonight against the New York Yankees. That series started on Tuesday with the Guardians falling to the Yankees 3-2. Last night, the Yankees getting shut out by the Guardians 4-0. Tonight on the bump, 7:05 first pitch that game on the MLB Network at the stadium. It'll be Max Friedel for the Yankees. He's 7-1 with a 1.92 ERA. It'll be Cerrone, who's 1-1 with a 5.28 ERA. 7:05 first pitch for that one. And then the Guardians will then go on to come back to Progressive Field to play the Astros for a 3-game set Friday night. 7:10 first pitch for that one. On the bump on Friday will be Allen for the Guardians. He's 3-3 with a 4.22 ERA. Gordon 0-1 with a 5.95 ERA on Friday. Saturday's slate, it'll be another 7:10 first pitch for that one. 4:10 first pitch for that one against the Astros. It'll be Williams on the bump for Cleveland. He's 5-3 with a 3.79 ERA. He'll take on Brown, who's 8-3 with a 1.83 ERA. The concluding game on Sunday will see the Guardians throw on the bump at 1:40 on MLB Network, as well as on FanDuel. Will be on the Cleveland Guardian TV, as well as on AT&T Sportsnet. Tanner Beebe, who's 4-6 with a 3.89 ERA. He'll take on McCullough Jr., who's 1-1 with a 4.44 ERA, 1:40 start time for that one. The Reds will host the Diamondbacks for a 3-game series that will start tomorrow. So the Reds in a 3-game set with them, and the Reds are doing okay, and we'll get to the standings here in a second. But the Dodgers and Mets are finishing up their series. They're playing this afternoon. Some of the games happening today, some day games that happen besides the Tigers falling to the White Sox 3-2. Diamondbacks 11-10 winners over the Braves. It's a doubleheader between the Royals and the Cardinals. Game 1 goes to the Cardinals with a 6-5 victory. Blue Jays a 9-1 victory over the Phillies. The Athletics shellacked the Twins today 14-3. The Sacramento A's a big win over the Twins. Orioles a 4-3 winner over the Mariners. The Giants a 3-2 win over the Padres. The Nationals will host the Cubs here in about 15 minutes. as we're doing the show around 6:30. Rangers and Rays at 7:35. Game 2 of the doubleheader between the Royals and the Cardinals will start at around 7:45. Yankees and Guardians 7:05 first pitch for that one. Right now, bottom of the 8th inning, Mets and Dodgers tied at 5. Pirates and Astros are in a current rain delay there. So looking at the standings going into this weekend's play, the Tigers are 41-23. The Guardians 33-27, 6 games out of first place in the Central Division. The Twins 34-28, 6 games as well out of first place. The Royals are 32-38 games out, and the White Sox are 20-43 in last place at 20.5 games out of first place. In the American League East, the Yankees holding the top spot at 37-23, but the Blue Jays are coming 33-29, 5 games out. The Rays are 32-29, 5.5 games out. Boston is 30-34, 9 games out of first place. And the Orioles, who I projected to win the World Series this year, not going to happen. It looks like 25-36, 12.5 games out of first place. In the West is the Astros on the top spot at 33-28. Seattle 32-29, 1 game out of first place. Texas 29-33, 4.5 games out. The Angels are 28-33, 5 games out of first place. And the Sacramento Athletics are 24-40, 10.5 games out of first place. In the senior circuit, Central Division, the Cubs are leading the spot at 38-23. The Cardinals are 34-27, 4 games out of first place. Milwaukee is 34-29, 5 games out of first place. The Reds are 30-33, 9 games out of first place. And Pittsburgh is 23-39, 15.5 games out of first place. The Reds 3 games out of being 500. But the division is so open. We'll see what happens. In the National League East, the Mets holding the top spot at 39-23. Philadelphia 37-25, 2 games out of first place. The Washington Nationals 29-32, 9.5 games out of first place. Atlanta 27-34, 11.5 games out of first place. And the Miami Marlins 23-37, 15 games out of first place. In the West, it's pretty open between 3 teams. The Dodgers holding the top spot at 37-25. San Diego 35-26, a game and a half out of first place. San Francisco 35-28, 2.5 games out. The Arizona Diamondbacks are at 500 at 31-31, 6 games out of first place. And the Colorado Rockies have won their first series, sweeping the Miami Marlins this week. They're now 12 wins, 50 losses. They're 25 games out of first place. They are the worst team in all of baseball with a record of 12-50. So that is what the standings look like around Major League Baseball. Of course, like I mentioned before, the Tigers fall to the White Sox today. Francisco Lindor is out with a fractured toe, not to be put on the IR. That's pretty big. Looks like Brewers Woodruff bruised his elbow in rehab outing. The Twins Lopez is going to be out 8 to 12 weeks with a shoulder injury there, so that's going to be big news as well for that. So that's what's happening around Major League Baseball. The Tigers fell today to the White Sox by the score of 3-2 in 10 innings. The Yankees and the Guardians will be getting ready to start here at about 7:05. Reds are off today. They'll welcome in the Arizona Diamondbacks for a 3-game set at Great American Ballpark. By the way, the Mud Hens, I want to get that really quickly for you guys right here on All Andy Alfred tonight, right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you're listening to us, wherever and whenever you're listening to us. Thank you so much for tuning into the show tonight. You can always be a part of our show by following us on Twitter. It is at All Andy Alfred. It is at All Andy Alfred, as well as Facebook.com/All Andy Alfred. By the way, the Mud Hens are on the road for a 6-game set, and this is what minor league baseball is doing: 6-game sets for all of baseball. They're in Columbus for a 6-game set with the Clippers down in Columbus. 7:05 first pitch. Columbus will take out McKenzie, who's 2-3 with a 5.22 ERA. Gabe Alvarez for Toledo has not yet named the starter for the game tonight, which is kind of surprising because we are about 15-20 minutes away from the starting of the game tonight. Let's see here. Trying to pull this up for you guys really quickly. Mud after the series will come back home to play the Omaha Storm Chasers for a 6-game series, which will be next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and all games will be 7:05 first pitch, excluding for the Sunday game, which is a 2:05 first pitch on that part. Mudhens fell on Tuesday by a score of 6-1 last night, falling to the Clippers 5-2. They'll play tonight, 7:05 per pitch. They'll play Friday against Columbus, 7:05, and then Saturday, 7:05 first pitch, and then a 1:05 first pitch in Columbus on Sunday. Like I mentioned before, Tuesday, the 10th, they will play Omaha. It's Hens and Hounds night. Joe Torre's safe at home night will be Wednesday. The Mudcrawler night will be on Thursday, the 12th, against the Storm Chasers. The 13th and 14th this weekend. Next weekend will be Omaha. We'll be hosting Omaha. There'll be Harry Potter weekend, and Princess and Princesses Day on Father's Day will be on Sunday, the 15th, before they go back out to St. Paul for a 6-game set. They'll be back to play the Charlotte Knights. I will be there for a lot of that Charlotte Knight game. I know my good broadcast partner, my former broadcast partner, Mr. Nick the Money Man DeVera, will be there for those games too, to look at the Charlotte Knights organization as well too. So there's that. Let's get into some golf really quickly. Of course, the PGA Tour was just this past weekend in Columbus, in Dublin, Ohio, for the Memorial Tournament, Jack's Tournament at Muirfield Village. And Scotty Scheffler wins the tournament, gets the handshake by Jack, shooting a 10 under par. Griffin shoots 6 under par. Steve Straka 5 under par for third. Nick Taylor 4 under par, and McNinley 2 under par. Is all our golf coverage this summer is brought to you by our good friends over at Scramble Stick. Scramble Stick, when you need to pick up the ball and pick up your pace, Scramble Stick is the stick for you. So, of course, the Memorial taking place last weekend. The RBC is happening as we speak right now. Olson's leading at 9 under par, tied for first with Dale Sora, who's 9 under par, 2. Champ at 8 under par. Camp at 7 under par. Hogarth is at 6 under par for the tournament at the RBC Open, which is in progress as we speak. Shane Lowry tied with 5th with Hogarth at 6 under par. Molex is at 6 under par. Parith is at 5 under par, tied for 8th with Peterson, and Smalley, as well as Willett and McIntyre. Camprose, Ryu, Park, and Tosi all at 5 under par. Tied for 17th, Sam Burns, Nick Taylor, Hall, Gordon, Fox. Wyndham Clark is at 4 under par as well, too, in his tournament as well, to tie for 17th. Let me see if I can find any other big notable names. Hughes tied for 45th at 2 under par, 2. Ludwig Ahlberg is 2 under par, tied for 43rd. Brian Snedeker is at 2 under par, tied for 43rd. Justin Rose 2 under par as well, 2, tied for 43rd. Cameron Young 2 under par, tied for 43rd as well. Shot a 68 today. Let's see here. Anybody else? Notables that are not doing very, very well. Gary Woodland, even par, tied for 98th. Corey Connors tied for 98th at even par as well, too. And one other one. Nick Dunlap, 3 over par, tied for 144th. Power has withdrew. The Scotsman has withdrew from the tournament as well. The LPGA Tour happened last weekend. Of course, was the U.S. Women's Open that took place in Erin Hills, Wisconsin, and Stark finishes 7 under par in first place. Nelly Korda finishes tied for second, with Taganen at 5 under par. Hinjin Choi 4 under par. Yin finishes up at 4 under par as well. Sago finishes 4 under par, 2, tied for fourth. Cooper finishes 3 under par with Sabo at 3 under par. Jagunigan and Lynn Grant tie for 9th with Lynn at 2 under par. Charlie Hall 1 under par. Hannah Green 1 under par. Jin Young Ko even par, tied for 14th. Gabby Lopez finishes tied for 19th at 1 over par. Lopez Ramirez at 1 over par at 19th. Heston finishes 2 over par. 2. Min Lee finishes 2 over par. Lydia Ko finishes 3 over par, tied for 26th. Alison Gord Post finishes tied for 5th over par, 5 over par, tied for 31st. Anna Nordquist also 5 over par, 31st as well. This course was very, very tough. To shoot 5 under par, to shoot 7 under par, Stark, her rounds were 70, 69, 70, and 72. She did very, very well for the weekend. So now they will head now to New Jersey next weekend for the ShopRite June 6th, which will be tomorrow, for a 3-day tournament, June 6th, 7th, and 8th for the ShopRite Classic. And Leanna Strom has been the defending champion. Then they'll go to Michigan. They'll head up to Belmont, Michigan for the Meyer LPGA, and Lilia Vu was the defending champion for that one. Then they'll have the KP Championship in Fresno, Texas, June 19th through the 22nd, and then June 26th, end of the month, to the 29th, will be the Dow Championship that will take place. We will be there in attendance for that as well. Also, other sporting news to pass along, and by the way, our golf coverage is brought to you by our good friends at Scramble Stick. Scramble Stick, when you need to pick up the pace, grab the stick and pick up the ball and keep going to play your round. Other sporting news, of course, Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight is the Pacers and the OKC Thunder, 8:30 tip on ABC. OKC 9.5-point favorite in that one. I think OKC is going to win the series. They're going to win it probably in 5 games. I like to have OKC in 5. Plain and simple in that part. Also, the big race that's happening this weekend. The final leg of the Triple Crown. The Grade 1 Belmont Stakes taking place this weekend at Saratoga. The Belmont Stakes at Saratoga, as Belmont Park is being rebuilt. 8-horse field in the Belmont Stakes. Hill Road is the number 1 position. There's at money line at 10-1. Sovereignty, the defending champion of the Kentucky Derby, 2-1 odds. Rodriguez is third. He's at 6-1 odds. Uncaged is at the 4th position. He is at 30-1 odds. Credo, 15-1 odds. Baeza, I think the 3rd horse that could pull off an upset, 4-1 odds at the 6th position. Journalism, the come from behind win at the Preakness, sits at 8-5 odds. He is the favorite in the race. And Heart of Honor as at the 8th position at 30-1 odds. They will step off at 7:27 Saturday early evening. That will be on the Fox Sports Network. Fox will have the Belmont Stakes, as that is the field taking for the Belmont Stakes. They are having other races happening this week. Modona Momentum gets his first grade stakes win in the grade 3 Power Poker Stakes. So he wins that one. Post time for the races today or 4:02, 4:37, 5:12, 5:47, and 6:21. They're all done today at Saratoga for the races. So there is that. Like I said, the 157th running of the Belmont Stakes has happened. Will start today. Started on Wednesday and will conclude on Sunday. But the big race Saturday afternoon for the Belmont Stakes for the big race. And I mean, journalism is. I like journalism in this horse. If I have to pick, I take Baeza, Journalism, and Sovereignty. So 6, 7, and 3. 6, 7, 3 is my pick, my trifecta. 6, 7, 3. You can box it too. 6, 7, 3. So there's that. And so there is all that. That's all the sporting news, of course. I want to get into really quickly 2 questions as we're now into the back pages on All Andy Alfred tonight, right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you listen to our show, wherever and whenever you listen to our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, subscribe on our YouTube channel as well as our Facebook and all the platforms that you can listen to the show. Tonight, on the back pages, looks like this. WWE has lost my respect with the announcement of R-Truth being released on a Sunday afternoon after he performed so well the week before on Saturday night's main event against John Cena. He then wrestled Friday night on SmackDown against JC Mateto, and then absolutely gets cut by WWE on Sunday. Now, it's not just him that's being cut. Carlito was announced that he is not his contract's not being renewed. So is Sarah Logan, who is Valhalla, formerly from the Viking Raiders, is being up. But the big news, of course, one of the big stories is coming out, and we're going to find out soon, is that Mike Mazarian is going to be released probably from WWE. He has taken all WWE product off of his Facebook page, off of his Twitter accounts, all his Instagram pages as well too. I know he's getting ready to do American Gladiators on Amazon Prime, but the big thing for him to be taking off of WWE, if he is being released, like a lot of people are saying he is, I think I'm gonna turn off from WWE. I think as a consumer, I'm going to have to reconsider what I'm watching on Friday nights. If I'm going to continue to watch SmackDown, which is still going to be 3 hours, which I absolutely don't understand. Why don't they cut that down to 2? Why don't they cut it down to 2? They were talking about cutting it down to 2, but they're not going to wait now until after September. It should have went to 2 hours a while ago. And I think that WWE is really in trouble right now, ladies and gentlemen. I think this whole TKO situation is really screwing WWE up. I think that this is really going to it's affecting the product. It's going to start affecting us as consumers because they're not going to fill buildings. I mean, sure, they're filling buildings now, but if they're going to start releasing these key players, then what is the point of watching? R-Truth has been a fan favorite. Was one of my favorites to watch. And if they do release The Miz, Mike Mazarian, then what is the point? Mike has been a catalyst for WWE for the longest period of time. He's been absolutely amazing. A 2-time Grand Slam champion in WWE. If you need him to do any promotional work for WWE, this is the guy for you. And yet you're going to release him. And he's not going to resign. You're not going to resign him. That's the question. Why? You're losing a viewer in me. I talked to my wife about this, and we're both in an agreement about this. We were going to probably switch over to AEW as a full-time product. At least we get to see it on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And like last night, getting to see it for 4 hours, it was kind of a stretch. I will say AEW kind of stretched it out, a 4-hour show, because of the fact that they were going up against the Stanley Cup Finals. And bear in mind, I recorded all 4 hours of the program, watched the first 2 hours, but I was flipping between the hockey game and Fyter Fest. But I think the stories in AEW are getting a lot better than they are in WWE. Now, bear in mind, I will continue to watch WWE because of this whole John Cena situation. And I want to see how he does with Cody Rhodes. And when he does lose the belt to Cody again, and Cody deserves to be the champion again, maybe, just maybe I'll flip over. But John Cena as the champion right now is not working. It's absolutely not working. I absolutely love Jey Uso. I love the Raw brand. Raw and SmackDown to me, or the SmackDown brand. There's some things I like about the SmackDown brand. I love the tag team division and I love the women's division in SmackDown. On the Raw side of things, the only things I like on the Raw brand are Jey Uso, Rhea Ripley, and this whole dynamic with the Judgment Day taking on with Liv Morgan running it, quote unquote, going up against Finn Balor. I like the fact that they're running up against each other with Roxanne Perez being the middle piece of this. I like it, but I just don't understand. I just don't understand why they're going to release Mike Mazarian. I just don't. I don't understand. So we'll see what happens. I got an opportunity last Thursday to head up to Cedar Point for the first time. Absolutely enjoyed it. Getting an opportunity to ride the Magnum, Gemini, Gatekeeper, and now the new Siren's Curse is going to be opening up on the 28th, which I'm excited for. That's going to be fun. It looks like a fun ride. I'll share a picture with it on our Twitter account. What it looks like. It looks fantastic. And I enjoy going to Cedar Point. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's one of my summer traditions. And but I've noticed more and more that that Cedar Point isn't catering to their history of what the park is. They're always pushing for rides. I always like just walking the park, enjoying the park, looking at all the new stuff, looking at just being on the beach, relaxing. That's what it is. And I've had people in the last 24 to 48 hours confront me and saying that I don't do things for people and I don't listen to people and that I'm not a good friend to people. To that I say this thing. I recently went to the doctor, was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, and I've been put on medication because of it. My vitamin D deficiency is low, and I don't have high blood pressure, so I'm good on that part. But my life is trying to take care of myself and my family. So if you confront me and my family, you better be ready for a fight. And I understand that you want to quote unquote pay me, and you want me to do everything, but you want me to do every bit of everything. Look, I love your product, and I love you as a friend, and I care about you. But there's no need to attack me, bring up my wife, and talk about my wife. And if you say anything about my wife, again, I will drop you. Plain and simple. Don't attack me, and especially don't attack my family and my wife. You got that? Yeah. Sorry to be real for there, folks. I want to give a couple shout outs too. I want to give a shout out again to my cousin, our good broadcast partner, Nick the Money Man DeVere. We're trying to get him on the program and get him on. Also want to give a shout out to our good friend Phil Bennett. I love you, brother. And our good friend Logan as well too. They're getting ready to head out to Cedar Point. Coaster Mania happening this weekend. Enjoy the time. It's going to be a nice day. They said rain Friday. It's been raining off and on today, so we'll see what happens. Programming note, of course, we will be on the air Friday night, tomorrow night, on our Facebook Live for Game 4's reaction to the Kelly Cup final between our Toledo Walleye and the Tres Riviera's Lions, the Three Rivers Lions. We'll be on the air after Game 4 for that one. Game 5, we're estimated to be on the program. It will be a night game. It will be later on in the night, so bear with us on that one. Possibly headed to the watch party Saturday night, so I'll give you that heads up. We might be doing the post-game show from the watch party Saturday night, which is supposed to be really, really nice Saturday. Tomorrow's supposed to be iffy with the rain and everything like that, so we'll see how that works out. And we will be back on the air next week, of course, for another edition of Andy Alfred right here on our YouTube channel, as well as on all the platforms, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, Pocket Cast. However you listen to our show, again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning into the podcast tonight. That is all the time I have for you tonight, of course. I hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for the subscriptions, and thank you for being a part of the show and hearing what's happening in the sports world as well as what's happening in my life. So until I talk to you guys tomorrow night for Game 4's recap, this is Andy Alfred saying I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together, the game of life. Keep your stick on the ice. And to the teams you root for at home, and to my teams, go Jackets! Go Walleye! Let's finish it. Get the win tomorrow. Veterans, step up to the plate. Go Tigers. Go Guardians. Go Reds. And go Hens. And more birdies and less bogeys, because victory is sweetest when you have tasted defeat. Have a great night, everybody. I'll talk to you guys on Friday night on Facebook Live with another edition of All Andy Alfred. Love you guys. Talk to you then.